A deep dive into the escalating tensions and what's next for Ukraine. Ukrainian Member of Parliament Yevgenia Kravchuk responds to Russia's allegations.
There should be investigation on the crimes committed by Russians, and indeed, it's probably one of the episodes. Ukraine is a strong country that we want some rules on this planet, and Russia is breaking these rules. The principal of this prison was found dead.
Watch the exclusive interview on India Today Global.
This is an India Today Global exclusive. I'm being joined by a Member of Parliament from Ukraine, Yevgenia Kravchuk. Ms. Kravchuk, thank you so much for joining us here on India Today Global. The big news today is about how Russia's Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov was killed. Now, all the fingers are being pointed towards Ukraine. Firstly, your first reaction to the chemicals head, the man behind accused of many a killing, has now been taken out. What's your first reaction to the kind of response that Russia has had so far with regards to the killing?
Well, first of all, I would like to remind that chemical weapons are forbidden for all of the rules of war, of all of the conventions. And of course, we do have evidence that Russia had been using chemical weapons against Ukrainian military, but also on the territory where a lot of civilians live. So this general that was found dead due to some circumstances in Moscow, he actually got an official criminal claim from Ukrainian prosecutor office with all needed facts saying that he is responsible for this offense against both military and civilians in Ukraine. I cannot, of course, comment on the circumstances in which he was found dead, but obviously those who are trying to commit war crimes against sovereign state, people of the sovereign state, will be punished in one way or another.
Right. Now, we know that a suspect has been arrested. It's an Uzbek citizen, a 29-year-old man who was involved in the killing. He's confessed, and he has said that it was the Ukrainian intelligence services that was involved in this entire operation. And the suspect also goes on to claim that he was promised a lot of money, a possibility of moving to a European country. Does Ukraine accept the charges being made by Russia?
Well, we do not accept any charges from Russia, of course. And about influencing Europe, I would like to point out that Russia had been sending spies to Europe for ages, but not only to Europe as European continent, as European Union, but also to Great Britain, and all of these, cases of murdering on different countries' soil. It's obviously the special forces and intelligence service of Russia that is standing behind, and it is a hybrid war because, of course, Russia is attacking Ukraine in the most brutal way, capturing the soil and torturing people, but they are trying to influence Europe as well, sending their spies to different countries. About the Ukrainian intelligence service, you should probably address the questions to themselves. But again, I would like to bring to the attention that people who are on the Russian territory, who are planning the attacks on Ukrainian cities, who are pushing the button when the missiles fly to Ukraine, they are as much as convicts as, and also the criminals of war crimes as those who are on Ukrainian soil. So I mean, it should be some justice in this world. When someone wants to kill unpunishedly people, then destiny will find himself.
Right. Ms. Kravchuk, this was a prominent figure. He was very prominent in the Russian military. He was overseeing the radiological, chemical, and biological weapons division. How much of an impact do you think this killing would have now on the Russia-Ukraine war that is ongoing with him gone?
It's hard to predict, of course, because taking out just one person doesn't mean that the whole system falls. But I hope that all of the crimes, together what he committed, will be investigated in international court. Because if we say that chemical weapons in Syria by Assad is something wrong, then any chemical weapons that are being used in different countries, this is also wrong and has to be investigated because it's not just him who is responsible, obviously, and it, also the leadership of the country that allows that, also responsible. But in the terms of the war, of course, we do experience massive attacks together, not just Russian troops. And I think that's another topic you wanted to bring out, that we see North Koreans on the territory of the European continent. And that is something, never imaginable before. So we have the troops of other country, of course, very undemocratic authoritarian regime, sending actual troops, not just missiles, not just drones from Iran or missiles from North Korea, but actually troops to fight with Ukrainian army. And we did see the video that President Zelensky put into his social media showing that Russians are trying to cover this and actually to burn the faces of these soldiers from North Korea so no one would recognize them and say it's other country soldiers.
Right. We will come to the Russia-North Korea cooperation because that's a very important aspect of how the war is being fought in the border regions, in the border areas. But going back to Lieutenant General Kirillov, the fact that Ukraine has accused Russia of conducting toxic gas attacks and killing over 2,000 Ukrainian soldiers, how much of an involvement do you think was there of Igor Kirillov?
It's again, I said there should be investigation on all of the crimes committed by Russians, and indeed, it's probably one of the episodes of this war with 2,000 soldiers being under attack, but by this attack. But it has to be thoroughly investigated from the beginning, and not just 2022 full-scale invasion, but together with 2014 and all of the military crimes and war crimes committed by Russians. And another thing that, of course, it's not due to this general, but probably the audience of India today would like to know what Russians do. And we understand it's also the responsibility. Not long ago, the director of prison, Olenivka, where a lot of prisoners of war were kept, and they were actually killed by Russians. The principal of this prison was found dead. And it's also the sort of sign to all of those who think, oh, we are just working in the prison with prisoners of war. We do not care what happens to them. But the punishment and this justice can come to them for these killings and torturing of prisoners of war, as well as of this, general that was found dead but unknown circumstance.
Ms. Kravchuk, now that we're looking at a lot of targeted killings as well and prominent figures being taken out, will this not lead to more escalation of the war?
It's different. It's difficult to
is it? Let me rephrase my question. Is it a deterrent or a provocation?
Um, I will not comment on that. It's just the way how punishment comes. And escalation just comes from those who are attacking another country. And nothing would happen, no this, no any other episodes that you would be discussing, if Russia would not attack Ukraine in full-scale invasion in 2022 in February, and in
That's right.
2014 was annexation of Crimea. So it all started, all of the episodes, all of the process. But you know, Ukraine is not something a toothless country. Ukraine is a strong country that we want some rules on this planet, and Russia is breaking these rules. And we just want to show that we do stand by democracy, by internationally recognized borders, and by the rule of law.
Right. Again, now you spoke about the Russia North Korea cooperation. That's a very important aspect because it just changes dynamics on the ground. What's really happening right now? We know that the recent incidents and reports of quote unquote friendly fire where North Koreans were killed, or the other way around as well, being killed, Russians being killed as well. So, what is the situation on the ground? How much of a geostrategic advantage does Russia really have in bringing the North Koreans into the picture?
Well, first of all, I would remind you that in 2022, at the end of February, Russia was claiming that she will conquer Ukraine in 2 weeks and Kiev in 3 days. So now, 3 years after, we're discussing about the geostrategical advances and what Russia can do. Still, Russia had not been able to occupy the Donetsk region in its administrative borders. Of course, I mean, Russia is 3 times bigger in population than Ukraine. They did throw all of the resources available for the military production. But for example, in the terms of support, I mean, we do have United Europe and European Union. We do have the support from other countries, from G7, both United States and Japan. And now about the geostrategic, about how the different countries who are not democratic, and India is the biggest democracy in the world. So you have the undemocratic countries, North Korea, you have Iran, you have Russia, possibly China, very much involved, and they are forming some sort of alliance. And when you see North Koreans on the European continent attacking Ukraine and trying to bring victory to Russia on the European continent, it means it can happen geostrategically somewhere closer to your region when other autocracies will unite and just decide to throw a tantrum in this region. So we do expect, of course, some bold decisions from President Trump when he will be inaugurated in January 20th. But Ukraine is building its own military capacities. Now we produce 4 million of drones each year. We didn't have these possibilities before the full-scale invasion, but we became even in some terms stronger after 2020.
That's a very interesting perspective because you're bringing India in. Is there any expectation from India? Because the Ukrainians have had expectations. Prime Minister Modi was there. He did meet President Zelensky. But in terms of real expectations, are there any expectations?
Well, first of all, we are grateful for this historical visit of Prime Minister Modi that he had. It's the first visit of Prime Minister of India, basically, in 30 years of independence of Ukraine. And he did pray for peace and also for the Ukrainian kids that were killed by Russia. And of course, as mentioned and stated before from President Zelensky, we do expect any countries that are strong, big, and influential in the world to help us to restore the international order. And of course, India is the greatest, one of the greatest examples. So we do expect some more involvement from India in the process. Of course, Ukraine is the country that wants peace most of all the countries, because it's our people that are being under bombardment, under missiles, under killings. We do have some strong ties, especially within students, and we do expect to have more Indian students, especially in medical universities throughout Ukraine. One will be able to restore peace and live freely in our own sovereign country.
Ms. Yevhenia Kravchuk, thank you so much for joining us here on India Today Global. Indeed, it widens our perspective as to how Ukraine is looking at all these developments. But the big question remains, could this lead to further escalation between Russia and Ukraine? Thank you for now.